Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 276 of the Drug Dashers podcast. I'm your host, I'm Tyler, and still joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Hey, yo, I'm here, and man, we are at the end of the crossroad.
Yes. It's been a fun 4 days of podcasting with you, Gables.
This flew
As
by.
Yeah, it did. I wish the work weeks flew by as quickly as E3 does. But actually, if it flew by at that rate, we'd all be 97 years old.
Yep.
But yeah, it's finally come to an end. Unfortunately, been a crazy amount of stuff shown. I spent a lot of time reading, watching, and listening to stuff about E3. But it's all come to an end now. It's what's funny is like all the big stuff is out of the way, but really E3 just started. We're recording this on Tuesday. Really E3 just started today. It's like for the people that went to the show, it starts Tuesday afternoon. But all the big stuff is out of the way by then, which is funny. But yeah, this is the ninth podcast in less than 96 hours for us, which is crazy to think. We've been recording like madmen, prepping like madmen. I had over 26 pages of notes for all combined for the 7 press conferences that we did. So a lot of time and effort and talking and drinking of beers went into this. I've gone through I think about 20 something beers in that time over the course of those shows. I'm trying to pace myself, guys. Here, I'm like, oh, only 20 something beers. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to get drunk all the time. Okay, even though I'm on vacation, I am gonna take a sip of beer real quick. Sip of beer for the common man, because that's who we are. We're common men of E3. I like that. Gables tweeted that the other day. E3 covers by the common men, which is really what it is. We're not bigwigs, We're not IGN, GameStop. We're not Giant Bomb, kind of funny, easy allies.
We're the same as you, and we pretty much get our games when we want. We don't have things supplied to us. We just go through. We just report. We just freaking just talk games. We do talk about game news, what we play. It's just what we do. And E3 is our favorite time of the year.
Yes. Not saying we would accept free games. I'm not saying at all. If you want to send me a free game, I'll talk about it on the show. I'll play it. I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
If Nintendo would like to send me a code for Smash Brothers now, I'll gladly accept it. If Kojima came to my house and said, testicles, please. I'm like, okay, scissors, please. Thank you for Death Stranding. I'll do it right now. I'll be bleeding like a stuck pig playing Death Stranding until I bleed out. That's kind of the perfect way for me to go out, I think. That's kind of the best way. We get a lot of downloads that way if I did that.
Oh my god. Just think of it this way, man. That'd be kind of funny. I'm just getting the scene now, just Kojima just knocking at your door or something like that, and all of a sudden it's like, man, he could fart at my dinner tonight, and I would not give a shit.
I would inhale his farts. I would inhale that man's farts. Yep. That is totally fine. I'll do whatever I gotta do. Just give me that goddamn training now. I want to just give me the demo. Something. That's all I ask. I'm not asking a lot here. Just something. But anyways, on to E3. It's our final show. Like I said, for the show or for the press conferences for this year. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about some of our best and worst, most surprising and disappointing moments of all the press conferences, all 7, in fact. So I think I think I got like 5 or 6 questions here. If you think of me, excuse me, whoo, buddy, ooh, that's lemon. I'm drinking a summer shandy. It's very lemony. Oh, I was at the gas station. I'm like, I'm out of beer. I better grab a 6-pack, and that was the only thing that looked tempting was a 6-pack of Leinenkugel summer shandy. Is either that or Bud Ice. I'm drinking Bud Ice. Whoo. That's a lot of lemon. But we're going to go through, I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions for you, Gables.
Awesome.
We'll both answer them. If you'd like me to start, since I typed them out, you just let me know. I just told Gables like 45 minutes ago what the questions were, so I didn't give him a lot of time to prep. So I think we'll which order do I want to do? We'll start from the bottom.
All right.
So we're gonna go with most disappointing press conference.
Oh man, that's no contest. Without a shadow of a doubt, the most disappointing contest, like conference for this year in E3 is Electronic Arts. There's no competition for that. I mean, some people could argue maybe Devolver Digital, or maybe they would like maybe argue a little bit for Square Enix because they didn't really show too much. But EA, this is a special level type of bad for them. I mean, it's bad enough to where you go through. We know exactly the type of games you're going to release, but it's on another level where you don't even tell us about some of the main features that make said games that you release annually, like that you're putting into this game or something like that. Some of them maybe releasing this month or even like in August, and instead you focus upon 15-20 minutes upon a fucking competitive mobile game live on stage with freaking Command and Conquer. I mean, come on. With that moment in and of itself is one of the very reasons why I consider Electronic Arts 2018, their press conference, to be shit. And that is the worst, in my opinion. What about you?
That was up there mainly because, like I said, every year, like we go in there hoping that they're going to change, and they don't. It's
Nope.
like, I'll be different. It's like a bad relationship in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, things will be different now. We're gonna be better. And
And
we're not saying, they're not even, EA's not even saying that. They're not even going to say they're going to be
No.
better. We just kind of hope they're going to be better. So it's like, we'll
And
go
it
back
just
to
keeps
them.
gradually getting more toxic to the point and stuff where it's like they keep finding a new low.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not going to knock them for getting more details and stuff because I just bashed Nintendo for going too inside baseball with Smash Brothers. But not that I wouldn't complain about them spending 20 minutes on Madden because there's a lot of shit I have questions about. But that would be something I know nobody wants besides maybe me and like 15 other people. But my answer is actually it's different. And you said in our last show about Nintendo, like Nintendo is usually where we're different at. Different.
Yeah.
When we really love Nintendo, it's its best.
Yes.
But when I really hate Nintendo, it's usually when the most spite comes from, and mine's Nintendo this year. Most disappointing is Nintendo. So it's like I said in the last show, it's just they spent way too long on Smash. They didn't really, and maybe they just showed too much last year. I don't know. Like maybe they just blew their load too much last year. But just spending 26 to 43 minutes talking about Smash, and I think to a lot of people, like casual people, or just people that are just genuinely interested, don't go like too crazy about it. It like that's more information. They just want to know who's in the game and when it's coming out. Then I think you could. I mean, I'm not saying don't spend 10 minutes on it or something, but like I said, they spent 30 minutes last year in the direct and stole the show with the 4-minute trailer for Super Smash Bros. Or Super Mario Odyssey, and they stole the show with that, and obviously a bunch of other great stuff before that. And that to be the show, it just kind of felt like they just didn't have they didn't have the goods this year, or nothing was ready, or they're saving stuff. I know them they always have the big direct in January, so I'm sure we'll see more then. There's probably gonna be a couple more directs before the end of the year, so maybe they don't want to do too much too soon. But yeah, I don't know. Nintendo is my most disappointing. Moving on to let's go a little more positive this time.
Okay.
Biggest surprise or most hyped moment for you?
All right. So there were plenty of good surprises at E3 this year, but I think one of the biggest surprises in terms of like games, oh my gosh, just how fantastic like the Ghost of Tsushima has been presented at E3 last night. I mean, Jesus, inside Sony's press conference and stuff, just the look of the game and the gameplay itself looking so silky smooth, that was my biggest surprise right there. I mean, it's from an established studio like Sucker Punch that, sure, they've been out of the loop or something like that. Their last main game that they put out was like Infamous Second Son, and that was like towards the beginning console generation.
March 2014?
Yeah, it was towards the beginning of the console generation and stuff for the PS4. And seeing the progress that they've made on this game since then, and then just seeing how well everything has flowed together, that was one of the biggest surprise because I thought it was like just something a little bit like different, like some little bit more like feudal-esque or something where it's not going to be like as action or some oriented. And then seeing the gameplay trailer, seeing how the game looked and how it played in motion, and just seeing the details of all the things from the landscapes to the sunsets to the freaking grass just flowing in the wind to the seamless combat and just individually targeting limbs and doing this and doing that. That is a great emphasis on detail, and in a way, it just blew me away in terms of like the quality of it. Now, here's the thing: out of every other game that I did see on there, that was probably the one game that just freaking surprised me all to hell. Pretty much, it was between either that or Death Stranding, and I'll tell you what, man, it's a hard thing to decide upon, but Ghost of Tsushima, man, that is just a great game. It looks like it's going to be a great game. So,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So my biggest surprise, hype moment, maybe not surprise, but hype moment, Doom Eternal. It's easy answer. Control was biggest surprise probably, but hyped. The Control is a Remedy game, but hype. Oh god, like I've said before, I was fist pumping like crazy.
Yeah.
I got chills when I heard Mick Gordon's fucking guitar in there. I was like, oh yeah. I watched that trailer probably a dozen times the next morning. On Monday morning, I just could not quit watching it and looking at things. There's a street light in there. There's buildings. So we're going to Earth, and that's great. I'm all in for that. The only complaint about it, just no gameplay shown, but that's fine. Moving on to, we're going to go a little more in the negative this time. We're going to go with worst game shown. Maybe not like, so this isn't like the worst game talked about, or this is like game that actually had gameplay for it that was shown off. So do you have one or do you want me to go?
You go first. I got to think about this for a little bit.
Okay, so I have two. Well, one's for sure, but then there's one other one. So the one that literally put me to sleep, Skull and Bones. I remember being really upset about this game last year too. When it's like they showed a trailer for it. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, they're making a Black Flag game. The game everybody's been wanting for 5 years now. They're finally doing it, and then come to find out, oh, it's just a PvP game with pirate ships. Well, fuck.
Okay.
And then they showed it. I'm just like, this is boring as hell. It just went on way too long. And I just like, oh god, I fell asleep, and I had to like rewind like 20 seconds because I woke back up a little bit into the next segment. So that's mine. But the real bad one is that Command and Conquer. Are we both gonna be in agreement on that one? Probably.
Yes. Honestly, yeah. Okay, spoilers right now. I'm in total agreement with Tyler. That was the worst game shown right there. I mean, nobody... I mean, here's the thing, though. It's like, it's one thing to demonstrate a game on stage and stuff and being all hyped and this and that. The game was so freaking boring to watch it play that even the announcers who were paid to be fucking excited were sounding fucking tone deaf.
Yeah. The guy his job title is shoutcaster, and he sounded bored.
Yep.
How? Your job is to shout.
And all he had to fucking watch as a shoutcaster is two dudes drag their fucking figures on their damn screens and just select bases and select where to bomb things. It's like, oh, God.
Yeah. That and the fact that they showed the game and they did a whole gameplay thing like that live and before they even announced the game, that was weird. So yeah, we're both in agreement on that. It was just bad.
Yep.
But moving on to we're gonna keep the negative here a little bit, Gables.
Okay.
Most disappointing part of E3, not worst part, but the part that kind of bums you out the most.
Okay. So it can't be really any specific like a conference or something like that or anything like that. It's just
Well,
in general.
we already covered the conference, but like one specific part of any conference that kind of disappointed you.
Well, I'll tell you what kind of disappointed me quite a bit though was when during like Sony's presser and stuff like that, just the amount of waiting that you had to do like through the intermissions and stuff, and just the way everything seemed to be all like out of whack. I mean, yeah, sure. I was disappointed, like, in terms of the quality of, say, EA's press conference or the lack thereof information for Square Enix's. But I was expecting something, like, more different, like more like exciting in terms of what Microsoft did, and what was presented though was like with all this like random, like just bizarre sort of like transitions to game after game and stuff. I mean, the games they showed were great for the most part, but just the transitions and then that crazy friggin' intermission in between revealing Last of Us Part 2 and then for the next game they were going to show, that was really odd. That was really odd. That was really clumsy. And that aspect of E3 is just the waiting of just going through and just waiting for a specific thing or things just to be announced just because of not like the stream's fault or something, but because they can't get their shit together.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
just
waiting for people to change rooms, basically.
Yeah. Who the fuck does that? 15 minutes into the press conference and you have to take an intermission.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really weird.
And what's worse about it is they tell us information that we had already known for the most part because they had shown it over the past week, all except for like Black Ops 3 being on PlayStation Plus, and I'm like, whoop-de-fucking-do. Let's go.
That makes up for it. They gave us the worst Call of Duty game to make up for it, okay? That was their make good.
Okay.
I still haven't gone and checked. I should probably just add that to my library. Yeah. Yeah, mine, I have a couple. So, mine is the way almost every press conference ended, except for Bethesda and Microsoft, where Microsoft ended great with the Cyberpunk 2077. You had Phil Spencer up there talking, and it's like they get hacked, and now here's Cyberpunk 2077. And that was cool way to end the show. Bethesda ended it with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 back to back.
Yeah, that was good.
You could argue the merits in that, announcing games that are 5 to 10 years away, but it was a cool moment to end on. But the rest of them, they just like EA was the whole thing was just lifeless and stupid. But Ubisoft ending on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You had Nintendo just kind of ended after the Ridley thing. You're thinking they're coming back to something, and that was it. After sitting through 26 minutes of Smash Brothers, you had Sony. Like Nintendo and Sony's were both funny. Where like we didn't know the show was over and the show was ended. We're like, waiting for the next thing. That was it. All of them just kind of had lackluster endings. Usually they all kind of come out with one big thing, and that's the end of the show. And you're like, oh, that was awesome. And this was just like, oh, it's over. Okay. Like you're anticipating something like, okay, you've been talking about this for a long time now. What's the next big thing? Oh no, that's it. Okay. And then the other thing is, this one's more personal, but not the fact that I'm not buying an Xbox One this year.
That's very true. The fact
that's disappointing.
I know. I agree with you 100% on this. It's like the fact that even after that press conference, they still don't have anything really concrete. And this is like the same as last year too. They had like maybe one concrete exclusive game that they were going to release by the end of this year, and that's it. Yeah. For like the next couple of years, it feels like. The same thing happened this year, where it's like their main game of the holiday is Forza Horizon 4. And everything else was like, okay, we're going to 2019, or we're going to get like something like that's probably in spring of 2019, or blah, blah, blah. We have 6 fucking months left in the year, and you've only released like maybe 1 or 2 exclusives. Just give me a fucking reason just to go and dive in my wallet. It's like, here, take my money. But no. No. There's a reason why I sold my Xbox One off like freaking last year. And this is the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I just sold mine a month ago, but I was fully anticipating on buying an Xbox One S or an X this holiday season. And
I know.
I was just going to wait for a bundle. I might buy a bundle in February, depending on what Crackdown 3 sounds like, but...
And we had every reason to believe, that it could potentially, like, maybe a holiday bundle pack, possibly with Gears 5 in 2018. That wouldn't have been that much of a big thing to ask for, but no.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, like, the 3 biggest exclusive things they've shown. Gears 5, Ori, in the Will of the Wisp, and Cuphead DLC, all 2019. I mean, we got Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 this year, but that's not going to be...
you know what?
That's not AAA stuff. Go on.
You know what? I'll add something on here that there's a negative aspect for E3 this year. from the announcements to the definite like release dates to a lot of games, E3 2018 felt like a reload of last year for the freaking 2019, because almost a lot of freaking releases, either from Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, EA, Ubisoft, because of how big last year was with the releases of quality after quality game, that was crazy. It seems like 2018, even though there's been good games, it's basically been a reload, and you can definitely see it within all the gaming industry, all of the gaming industry right now, because all the major games, it seems like, are going to release next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, there was there's a lot of great things, but there's I think there's we'll get more into it later, but it was an underwhelming E3 this year.
It was.
But let's get into it real quick. We've already kind of done that because we've given number rankings to everything. But we're going to rank the 7 press conferences. We'll officially put them in order.
Okay.
If you want me to start, I'm more than willing to do that.
Okay. Start.
Okay. I'll go ahead. So, out of the 7, easily number 7, EA. We bashed them a ton. They sucked. Square Enix at number 6. More mainly because they just coming back after 3 years, you expect something. You're like, oh god, so they have to have adventures. They have to have Final Fantasy 7. There's got to be something from Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh, Just Cause 4. And those last 2 were shown off at Microsoft the day before, and we saw the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer 3 times at 3 different press conferences, the exact same one. There's too much. More than half of the games they showed were shown off at Microsoft the day before, which I think kind of hurt it. So that's number 6 for me. Number 5, I would put Bethesda. Mostly because it feels like this was kind of a thin year, where typically they've been really good about the last few years, 2016 and since they've come back, 2016 and 17. Everything they talked about was all the last half of the year's games, and outside of they showed Doom in 2016, basically anything. It was everything coming out in the next 12 months. That's all it was before the next E3. It was just we're only going to show you that, but 9% of it was stuff for the rest of the year. And this year, I didn't feel like they had the goods. They didn't have enough games to really fill 90 minutes, which you can argue either why have one or why make it 90 minutes if I can do it's perfectly okay to have a 30-40 minute press conference, or do what they did last year where it was really just Pete Hines came out, said thanks for coming, and then left, and it was just basically a direct after that in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
So I mean, my thing is a lot of the stuff they showed, they spent way too much time talking about the card games, Elder Scrolls Online, announcing the Elder Scrolls Blades game for the phones. Fallout 76, I'm happy for the people. A lot of it's kind of my own personal taste because I don't really care about. I'm interested in the lore of Fallout more than I'm interested in the game of Fallout. The more I heard about Fallout 76, just kind of, that doesn't sound. I'm more disinterested in that game than I have been of any Fallout. All the other ones I was really excited to play. This one I have zero interest in. But yeah, just coming out of it, other than hey, the Doom part was awesome. It was my most hyped moment. That was 20 seconds of a 90-minute press conference. Basically, all it was an announcement of hey, we're going to show more in August. So that's mainly why. And this kind of feels like showing off Starfield, a game that's probably minimum 3 years away.
Yep. And
then the game after Starfield, which is I've never heard that announced before. But hey, here's the game after the next game that's a next gen game, an Elder Scrolls 6. That's the weirdest thing ever to me. It was really funny when he said that. He's just like, here's the game after the next gen game. And it was Elder Scrolls 6. So that game's probably, that's probably the first 2025 game announced is Elder Scrolls, and Starfield's probably the first 2021 game announced, at best for those probably. And moving on, EA, Square Enix, Bethesda. Could go Ubisoft after that. It's just the Just Dance 4 part, or the Just Dance 2019 part, was legitimately my favorite part of the whole press conference, probably. And I'm not even trying to be mean. I actually just thoroughly enjoyed that whole dance sequence. Normally, I'm just like, just stop. Just please don't do this anymore. But they do it every year, and I actually enjoy this one. If it was just 90 minutes of that panda dancing, and it was just one long shot of that panda dancing for 90 minutes, 97 minutes, I would have watched that until the guy in the suit overheated and died of dehydration. I would have kept watching because that was awesome.
So every game it's announced that Ubisoft's thing, the guy in the freaking suit is just like dancing so hard that he's just panting and fucking just collapses in his suit.
You know what? They don't have to show any other games. Just one long shot of the panda. That's it. Nothing else. Just him, and that would have been great. You don't have to show me. You could. I wouldn't have fell asleep during Skull and Bones. That would have kept me intrigued the entire time. That would have been 11 out of 10, no doubt about it. But just the games that are shown, like, once again, personal taste stuff. Like, it's cool. Like, they're focusing on the new stuff. The Division 2, legitimately, honestly, was probably my favorite part of the whole press conference. I'm actually really interested in that game again, but I was really interested in the first one, and I never actually played it. So, outside of the beta and like the first hour of the game. So that was my number 4. So really, the big three console makers were my top 3. Next up was Microsoft, and a lot of that was just the fact that 90% of the games they've shown were going to be stuff I'm just going to play on my PS4.
Yep.
And then the other stuff they did show is stuff I'm not going to play for another year or more.
Yep.
So that's kind of my gripe against it. Where last year was kind of more the same, but it was just I think the games like Gears of War 5 looks fantastic. Gears Tactics, fuck yeah, I want that. I could argue that I'm maybe more excited for Gears Tactics than 5. Outside the story of Gears of War 5, which is crazy to most people, the fact that I'm excited about the story of Gears of War 5. Just the next Gears game sounds great. 2 was Nintendo, or I'm sorry, 3 was Nintendo. I'm sorry, I messed that up. 3 was Nintendo. I'm looking at my numbers here, and because they're technically tied for 7.5. But yeah, Nintendo was 3, Microsoft was 2. But going back to Nintendo, I've already talked about it a lot. It was still overall a really good press conference. We wanted more. We just overhyped ourselves up for so much for Nintendo, and that's kind of the fanboy in us. Really, it's just like, there's so many things we love about Nintendo. We're just upset when not everything is announced. And then last but not least, easily, Sony killed it. Outside the intermission, killed it. Was the big issue? I mean, it was probably the shortest of all the real press conferences, because I mean, Nintendo was a direct, Square Enix was essentially a direct. But of all the ones that was in front of a live audience, they were the shortest by 30 minutes or so. But the 4 games they said they were going to talk about, they focused on, were stunning. Then the stuff they announced in between that all was really cool. Like the Rick and Morty VR game, or the Rick and Morty guys VR game, which was 30 seconds of the show, was fine. But the Resident Evil 7 2 remake, that looks fucking awesome. I'm actually really excited about that game. And then Control, the Remedy game. I was watching them, like, is this like Quantum Break 2? They just steal that exclusive from Xbox? And it's to see that, I'm one of the few people out there really, really, really liked Quantum Break. So to see something similar to that back, and I loved Alan Wake, I am definitely excited to see more about that. So to go over it again, 7 EA, 6 Square Enix, 5 was Ubisoft, sorry. Oh no, Bethesda. 5 was Bethesda. 4 was Ubisoft. 3 Nintendo. 2 Microsoft. 1 was Sony. Alright, so Gables, rank yours.
Alright. So the first couple are no surprise. EA is at the bottom.
Yeah.
Since I gave it like a fucking 4 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But God, there's not much I can really say that I've already covered with EA and stuff. It was just like a terrible conference through and through. Yeah. And then you had Square Enix next, which was like very kind of lacking in new information that have already been previously shown in other pressers, like Microsoft, and like even Sony had some repeats of some Square Enix stuff. The next one after that is actually Ubisoft. I actually got a little bit lower than you with a 6.5. The reasoning being, it wasn't because of like the fucking dancing pandas and stuff like that. I mean, that was pretty funny actually. But
The dancing panda was 11 out of 10. I want to point that out. But everything else dropped it down 4.5 points, 3.5 points for me.
Yeah, the thing about
points.
the thing about this conference that really didn't set well with me and stuff. Yes, we got to see a little bit more of like Beyond Good and Evil 2. I like that. We did get some in-depth things of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but I kind of wish they didn't end it with that. The whole like Skull and Bones thing was fucking boring. I'm sorry, but when you have when you have a game like that where it's like it's just a PvP pirate game and stuff, you don't show anything really too new. And this is like the second E3 in a row they've shown it, and I still can't find a reason that even to give a fuck to play it. It's like that's a problem.
And I also want to point out I sleep like 4 hours a day, and the fact that this put me to sleep says something.
Yeah. I did like the thing about Starlink and stuff, having like the inclusion of Star Fox, even though most of us are probably just gonna go ahead and probably buy the fucking Star Fox Artwing and stuff.
You can't. You gotta spend $75 to get it. It's bullshit.
Yeah, and people are gonna spend $75 just for the figure.
I might do that, by the way.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Anyway,
it's the most hurtful thing you've ever said to me, Gables, but it's also factual.
But the next one is Microsoft, in my honest opinion. Microsoft showed some good games, but like you were just saying, Tyler, even though I gave it 7 out of 10, a lot of the third-party stuff that was shown is playable on the PlayStation, on other systems and stuff like PlayStation, and like the Switch, or the friggin' PC and stuff. I like the reveals of like Devil May Cry 5, and like some bits of like the that game's sessions and stuff, which looks like it's going to be an interesting skateboarding game. The whole thing of the Tales of Vesperia and stuff, the definitive edition, that had me excited a bit. Let's see, the unveiling for like Halo Infinite stuff, yeah, that was okay and stuff. I was actually like kind of surprised like how underwhelming it kind of felt. I mean, yeah, new Halo game, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, but I didn't feel hardly anything with the new Halo game announcements. But Gears 5, that looked pretty fucking good. But, like I said before, it would have been higher if some of the game stuff would have made it into 2018. I'm just saying. But, next we actually have a tie between both Bethesda and Sony. And I'm going to go with Bethesda for the lower half right there, because even though they did have a couple of stealth kind of surprises and stuff that are going to that I didn't think they were going to be making on the Switch, you know, like, say, the that Elder Scrolls card game and the whole friggin' Fallout Shelter game and stuff like that. The reason why I have it so higher, like, I have it a little bit higher in rating than you, Tyler, is because of the unveiling of, like, a little bit of Fallout 76, plus obviously, the Doom fucking trailer. Doom Eternal. That game alone, that announcement had me, like, saying, yes, this is a good conference now. Because I got the game that I wanted out of that entire thing. Fallout, that's cool. Elder Scrolls, that's also swell. Rage 2, oh god, fucking Andrew WK. Yes. Oh god, the awkwardness of that. That made it so funny. But Doom Eternal, that is probably one of the reasons why that I've rated it in high regards. Even if they're not going to be showing gameplay up until QuakeCon, just the fact that the sequel game to one of my favorite games of 2016, and almost made it past Uncharted 4, by the way, is definitely a main reason enough to why I have it so high. Bethesda's press conference so high on my list. Mm-hmm. So, number 2 is Sony, obviously. They had such strong gameplay showings, but it was marred by so many fucking like presentational issues and so many awkward transitions. And even regards to that, like one game that they showcased in that their press conference actually releases this year, and that's Spider-Man, and they ended on Spider-Man, a game that we've already seen like fucking how many years in a row at E3, like 2, 3 now?
3. It was announced in 2016, shown in 2017.
Yep, and then 2018, we see it yet again, but this time it deals with the Sinister Six along with more combat stuff, more variety that you can do. Yep. Granted, definitely fun, but I've seen so much of Spider-Man, I don't want to see any more Spider-Man. I'm fine. I want to play it come the end of this year. But definitely it was higher than Bethesda's because of the gameplay unveilings of The Last of Us Part 2. That was intense. The freaking thing with the Ghost of Tsushima, which I've already stated before, was my most surprising game of E3, and definitely for good reason because of the way it looks and the way it plays. But the number one reason why I feel that this Sony press conference is definitely higher up there in terms of like Microsoft and most of the others is because of Death Stranding and that gameplay. The feel of an old sci-fi movie. That's the definite vibe I get now when I keep on watching this trailer. I've watched this gameplay trailer alone, I kid you not, like about maybe 3, maybe 4 times already. Damn. Why? Because every time I watch it, it just gives me that sense of mystery. It gives me a sense that draws me into the fact that I want to play this game now. I hardly ever have a feeling like that when I see a game introduced for the first time. Very rarely does a game like just grab me in and just lead me into like where it's like, okay, I don't care if I'm just delivering stuff the entire game. I just want to get inside that world, figure out what the hell's going on in like retrospect, and just like, you know, just delve into the mind of how Hideo Kojima goes full Hideo Kojima, pretty much. So
Kojima Unchained.
That is definitely was the best part of that Sony press conference and why I rated it as high as I did. Now the number one I obviously have is Nintendo. And at this point, it could have been interchangeable with Sony, but there are 2 reasons why I felt that it was better in terms of all the other press, like the pressers, pretty much, this Nintendo Direct. 1, it was clear-cut and to the point. 2, is because of how detailed and how much fan service and how much stuff they addressed with the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Not just that, but doing a lot of the different things that fans have been clamoring for years now. With the last Smash Bros. Game, people complained about the lack of characters that were taken out, like ice climbers, lack of like specific like advanced techniques like there were in Melee, and then all of a sudden it's like they didn't have a chance to play like specific control styles. Inside this game, they've listened to almost every single complaint that fans have had over the past like 10, 15 years with the Smash Brothers, and every single character is in it. There's all sorts of various like techniques, different types of like alternative costumes, and these whole introduction of like their naming of Echo Fighters, which we know are like fucking clone fighters. I'm sorry, but they're just clones of like the different main characters.
They just finally admitted it.
Yeah. I mean, my main rating for 8.5 and stuff, it could have been higher, but the reasoning why it wasn't is because there were a couple things which I kind of found weird in terms of this. 1, I know that their Smash Brothers and Pokemon, like Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, are their main focus. Both of those games are the main focus for their E3. However, I was not expecting them to spend almost a half an hour showcasing the Super Smash Brothers. If that was the case, this should have been like a separate sort of like direct in and of itself. You know, because that's just the thing. That's a lot of information. I'm glad we got a lot of that information, but it definitely did bog down, and it's kind of... And when it abruptly ended, it's like, what the fuck? I mean, at least tell us that was it, you know, in terms of, like, how it ended and stuff. And then on top of that, there are certain things that I'm kind of finding little issues with. Like, for one, Bomberman is an assist trophy. And then Waluigi not even being an Echo Fighter of Wario. I don't understand either of those decisions.
We should just boycott this game till Waluigi's in it.
Oh, and of course, lastly, the whole December 7th release date. That is just a pain in the ass. That is just a definite pain in the ass. I mean, those 2 reasons that I just got done listening, like just a Smash and like the presentational stuff and everything else, those are 2 reasons why that I had a number 1. But really, take away Smash, and I'm happy with what we initially had got. First off, I've been waiting for Hollow Knight for a while to release on Switch. It releases today. I mean, you have a game like Fortnite, which is widely popular around the world, and on other platforms, finally releases on Switch today, as of this recording. Then you have, like, freaking Super Mario Party. Hey, it has its uses and stuff. If there's online multiplayer, hey, that'll be fun. But seeing the new Fire Emblem emotions, seeing that new game Daemon X like Machina, which looks crazy as shit. And I love the idea of just like going around the mech, doing this and doing that. That was a lot of the reasons why I felt more surprised in terms of like what Nintendo was doing with their press conference. Not the press conference, with their Nintendo Direct. And I felt it was more cohesive in a way, other than like some obvious like parts with Smash Brothers. But that's why I rated it as my number one of all of what happened. Even though they're technically separate, and if we're doing just conference wise, Sony would have been number one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much my feelings in a nutshell with that.
All right, so that's cool, Gables. Well, let's go move on to our last real topic. I got one other thing I want to talk about, like an overview of overall thoughts on the show. But our last real question is our game or games of the show. Now, I have a top 5 list. I've got them ranked.
Okay.
If you like me to go, I'm more than willing to go. If you got yours, though, I'll let you go first.
All right, you go ahead, go first.
Okay, so number 5 for me is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of what you said before, where it's like we've seen enough of Spider-Man. I've literally already bought it digitally like 2 months ago. So I can't get my money back even if I change my mind at this point. But yeah, it's just I'm ready for it. I'm ready to play it. It looks fantastic. I'm even more hyped than I was before when I saw it. Number 4, Control. It's a Remedy game I've already talked about quite a bit about, but like I said, I really like the Remedy games, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, both really good games. They're really unique games that they make, and they always have a cool format that they do it with. So seeing essentially looks like Quantum Break 2. Maybe they won't have like the live action movie TV show stuff they tried to do, but which I didn't hate, but didn't necessarily need to be there. So to see them basically kind of making the sequel to that, that's cool. I'm definitely really excited about that. Number 3, Rage 2. It's essentially Borderlands with Doom shooting mechanics. Which, do I need to say anymore? Nope. Number 2, Last of Us Part 2. I said it in the PlayStation or the Sony E3 episode that we did, where it's just like, as soon as the game was announced, like, you already have my money. Like, you don't need to show me anymore. You're just kind of being dicks about it now, teasing me like that. Especially because it's probably a year or two off. But seeing what we did see, that game just looks gorgeous, looks fantastic. I want to know more about that world. I want to know more about those characters. I want to know what they've been up to since we last saw them. I just want the damn game. So that's why it's number 2. But number 1, this is surprising, folks. Gears of War 5 was my game of the show for E3 2018.
That's really surprising.
Yeah, so I can't, man. Like, I think it helps the fact that we didn't know, we knew it was coming, but we didn't know if we were going to see it. I think that's part of the reason why it's my game of the show. Last of Us, we knew it was going to happen. So maybe if we didn't know Last of Us was coming, it would have been number 1. But the fact that we got to see it, it was officially announced, which, like, it was the worst kept. I mean, it's the company's called The Coalition. It's named after something from Gears, so that's all they do is make Gears games. So we know what's happened. It's like a new Madden game is being made. Like, we know a new Gears is coming. So just seeing that and then find the story behind it, like, I legitimately really, really, really like the story they kind of set up in Gears of War 4. Finding out you're playing as Kate in this game. And they're delving more into kind of her story and what's going on with her without trying to spoil anything. But the reveal at the end of Gears of War 4 was really cool if you played the first original trilogy. So, yeah, I want the game. The fact that they waited another year and a half for it is really upsetting. But, I mean, Last of Us 2, I'm probably going to wait 2.5 years for it. So, it's whatever. So that is my top 5 games of the show. Gables, what about you? Do you have I don't know if, I mean, you don't necessarily have like a top 5 list. I just had 5 I want to talk about. So,
all right, I'm going to go along the same lines as I have in the top 5 as well. In no particular order. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just say my number 5 right now is Super Smash Bros. Ultra, because for one, I'm a huge Smash fan. I love the acquisition of all the characters in there. Plus, Ridley being revealed is definitely a big old plus. Plus, who knows what else they're going to say about that game from here until December. So that's number 5. So number 4. Number 4, I'm going to go into like the... Oh, boy. Man, there's been just a lot of games just going the last couple days. But number 4, I want to go forth and just say, like, Ghosts of Tsushima.
Okay.
Now, Ghosts of Tsushima, that game looks very, like I said, looks great. Gameplay looks fine and stuff like that. Sucker Punch, local, like, developer from Washington State. So it's like, it's definitely on my radar to try and to play and stuff when it eventually comes out. Now, number 3, I know it was like a trailer and stuff like that, but Doom Eternal. I like Doom, so it's like that was definitely like one of the parts of my favorite stuff. Let's see, number 2 is The Last of Us Part 2, because for God's sakes, just seeing that gameplay and just seeing all the story elements that's going to collaborate and stuff, and it seems like predominantly it's going to be pretty much Ellie's game, which I'm a big fan of that, because even in the original Last of Us and stuff, some of my favorite parts were like just you're Ellie by yourself away from Joel and stuff, and just like doing certain things, and that is really awesome. But my number 1 game of the show is going to be a game that's probably not going to release now until the next couple of years, and that's Death Stranding. I mean, the past couple of years, we've seen all sorts of various things about Death Stranding. The reveal trailer to like another trailer last year, and now we actually see legitimate gameplay footage. This has all the makings of a 2019 or a 2020 game. However, every bit that I see, even after seeing gameplay, has me more intrigued to play it. And this is the year where it's like, God damn it, I'm on board. I want to play this 100%. So, Death Stranding is my game of the show.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, just let people know, the reason Doom Eternal wasn't mine just because there was no actual gameplay shown. That's kind of something, a rule I've kept for myself. And now our 6th year of covering E3, where typically what I do, I'm making it would be my number 1 otherwise.
Yeah.
Just there was a teaser, so that's why I didn't rank it in my top, didn't put it in my rankings. And Death Stranding, I just don't know what the fuck it is. like I'm definitely like, out of all the games shown, that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to. Like it's like that's number 1, and then Doom is 2. But just kind of based off what we saw, and I actually understood the other games a little bit, so that's kind of the reason why. Otherwise, Death Stranding would be for sure.
Oh yeah,
the game of the show, and I'm hoping Gears of War 5 can break the streak. And I said this the last 3 years of doing this show. Actually, this was the 4th year in a row. We're the first. So out of the 6 E3s that we covered, the Division was my game of the show for 2013 and 14. And I played the beta and like an hour of the game and never touched it. Unraveled in 2015, one of the worst goddamn games of the generation, if not all time. 2016, 2017, were South Park Fractured But Whole. And it was my number 10 game of the year, but it was really there more because it's South Park and it's one of my favorite IPs in all of entertainment, more than to the game itself, because I thought the game was just okay. And like I said back then, it's like your favorite band making its greatest hit album version 2. I just can't. Yeah, it was a really good E3, and that's going to kind of go on to our next thing of like our overall thoughts in E3. It was a really great E3. I think the issue with it is that leaks really hurt E3 this year. Or typically when we see there's always tons of leaks going in E3, but it's like, okay, that leaked, and then they see it. I'm like, oh, cool, it is real. That's awesome. But then it's like, what else you got? You know, what's the next thing you got? What's all like we're used to seeing? It's like Tim Geddes always says, and kind of funny. It's like it's the decade of dreams for E3. Like all of our craziest wild imaginations are coming true, and this year wasn't really so much that. There were some cool surprises, some cool things shown. There's a lot of great games shown. There's always a bunch of great games shown at E3, even in the down here. But I think just the leaks of E3 kind of hurt it, because it's like a lot of people already said what they're going to talk about or showed the games or announced the games beforehand. Like we got Pokemon, Fallout. Then Sony said the big 4 that were coming. for them. So it's just like there wasn't like any crazy things they were showing off, or if they were, it was like you get like Starfield and Elder Scrolls, and it was just a 10-second teaser. It wasn't anything substantial. Resident Evil 7 2, I think I don't want to say we all knew it was coming, but we all felt pretty confident. But I would say everybody felt pretty confident about it the last 2 years since they announced they're remaking it. So I think that's what took the wind out of the sail of a lot of these press conferences was the fact there wasn't all these crazy surprises like we're used to. Right. But we've been spoiled the last probably 3 E3s or so. The last, really, since we started doing the show, like I don't think we've had a bad E3. This might be one of the lower end ones. Initially, over time, it could be one of the best ones. But looking at it, if you broke it down year by year and looked at it, this might be one of the lower end ones. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of the big stuff shown is stuff that was 2019 or later. And you just look at like the big 3 of the big 4s from Sony. All 3 of those, outside of Spider-Man. Spider-Man's coming in September. The other ones probably won't even see for another 2 years. Yep. Won't be out for another 2 years. Gears of War, 2019, hopefully. Halo, sounding like it's going to be the next Xbox launch game. The next new Xbox consoles launch game. Look at Bethesda. They're announcing games that are 8-10 years off. You got Ubisoft showing. They spent a lot of time talking about new stuff for their old games, and then they were one of the ones that was like mostly current stuff or stuff that's gonna be out in the next year or so, but nothing really substantial. I think crazy awesome stuff that was shown is just kind of very much what we've seen. EA sucked. Square Enix was just disappointing overall. So I mean, I think that's kind of where I came from at the end. Was we're coming up. I mean, we're spoiled with E3 the last few years. Where it's like, oh, here's all this crazy stuff. But you think about 2016, 2017 are 2 of the legit best gaming years of maybe ever. At least in our lifetime. It's probably the back-to-back 2 phenomenal years of great games. After a couple of down years for gaming. It's just like everything like got pushed to 2016 and 17. 2017 is one of the greatest years of all time. And something we talked about even last year was just like eventually it's got to give, and I think this is a year where a lot of things are giving, especially because it sounds like we're getting towards the end of this life cycle. A lot of stuff's getting pushed out. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on it. Like overall, a little let down, but when you break it down, you put it on paper, it was a great year, and it's hard to be really upset about it. So that's kind of my overall thoughts. You got anything you want to add on E3 2018?
Well, here's the thing, though. The thing that really kind of took away from E3 for 2018, this was the worst year to memory, in my honest opinion, of leaks absolutely just taking away any type of element of surprise that things could have come for. We've had leaks before in the past, before E3, and some of them did not even phase some of the conferences. This year, it legitimately hurt. And I'm just saying, hardly any type of surprises were not shown. It's like, we knew that a lot of these games were going to be coming. It's just all these leaks, all these rumors, all this other stuff. At the end of the day, we got mostly what we wanted and stuff, but a lot of us are just saying, oh, well, yeah, now, what else is there? It just basically kind of led us into a false sense of security and stuff. It's like, oh, hey, maybe there's going to be something even more than that going to be this. And once we find out it was just exactly what it was, the rumor stuff, and then all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, that was disappointing and stuff. It just kind of lost a little bit of the luster of what generally this time of the year is. Even though we saw a lot of good games, we saw a lot of good stuff. In general, E3 was pretty good. However, in terms of the surprise and the favorability and stuff over the past couple of years, this one was probably a little bit lower, a little bit of the worst in terms of surprise factor. Because we knew almost everything going into this this week.
Yeah. Yep, and it's crazy. Even the stuff that we heard leaks about wasn't even
I know.
We're Star Fox Grand Prix. There's just stuff that was leaked that we didn't even see. So
yeah,
it was Overall, I mean, it was still. I mean, there's never a bad E3. It's hard to have a bad E3.
Right.
And this wasn't one of those. It's just you can tell. It's everybody had all their big guns come out in the last couple of years. And this, I mean, it's something I talk
Yep.
about multiple times over the course of the year. It was like, this is going to be a bit of a down year. And we've had some great games this year. But it's not going to be like last 2 years where I'm like, we're making our top 10 list. And I have fantastic games that I got to put in my honorable mentions. And this year, I don't know if we're going to have that.
This is like a 2013 or a 2014 time of year and stuff where it's like we're probably gonna maybe have like maybe 3 or 4 like great games. You know, the rest are like kind of filler.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be 2014 bad is one of the worst years in memory, but yeah, I think it's gonna be that 2013, 2015 range. It sounds actually quite right. I think this year will be. Then 2019 might be like could very well be, just looking at it on paper, could be a 2016, could be a 2017 kind of year. But yeah, that's gonna kind of do it for all of our E3 coverage. It's over, Gables.
Oh,
We can all sleep now.
oh yeah, I know, right?
Because we've recorded 9 podcasts in 4 days. I think we've had like 5 hours, 6 hours of content we've done. That's more than what we usually do in a month, and we just did that in 4 days, less than. So once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And if you're, like I said, you're new to the show, thank you for listening to us, and I hope you listened to all of our content, and hope you liked it. Let us know if you did, on iTunes, on Drunk Dashers Podcast. Leave us a review, preferably 5 stars. Leave us a comment what you think. YouTube, join, subscribe to us on there. It is Drunk Nerds Podcast, or Drunk Nesters, I'm sorry. Like the podcast on there, subscribe to us, comment please. On Facebook, we have a page and group, it's Drunk Dashers Podcast. Like and join us there. Twitter at Drunk Nerds Pod. So please follow us on there, and on twitch.tv/Drunk Dashers or Drunk Nerds Podcast. Follow us on there, please. So like us, check us out in all those places. Like I said, if you're new to the show, let us know what you think. We're easy to find on Twitter. It's in the Drunk Nerds Pod Twitter page. I'm Gingerboy underscore DN, Gingerboy underscore DN, and then we got at Colonel Gables over there.
Yep.
So yeah, once again, guys, thanks for listening to us and dealing with us for the last few days. I know it's Friday to you guys, but to us it's still Tuesday. So yeah, this is Tyler signing out.
And you know what? I have been Colonel Gables. So until next time, everyone, have yourself a fantastic weekend when you're listening to this. And just crack yourself something nice and sweet open, and just listen to a great episode of the Drunk Dash Nerds podcast.
And Gables?
Yep.
Too sweet.
Too sweet, man.
Bye.
See ya.